he says, take up your cross and follow me. And I guess it just resonated a bit more deeply for me that that's not just here and there or now and then. It's a constant walking with Christ.
Veni Sancte Spiritus, et emite celitus, lucis Tuae radium. Veni Pater Pauperum.
I was just in my prayer this morning, praying the sorrowful mysteries. It just, I'd like to, talk about Christ carrying his cross. And, my reflection, my meditation this morning was that he says, take up your cross and follow me. And I guess it just resonated a bit more deeply for me that that's not just here and there or now and then. It's a constant walking with Christ and carrying his cross. And I guess what occurred to me was that Christ didn't just carry his cross to Calvary certainly that was the stark, dramatic carrying of the cross, but Christ carried his cross throughout his life, literally from the moment of his conception. He was carrying the cross of entering into the human life. That carrying of the cross was very much a daily reality for Christ. Just even in thinking about, I love the movie The Passion of the Christ because it sort of brings to life that this was a real man, a real person, a strong man. And Christ, my reflection this morning was that Christ probably carried around a lot of wood. I'd never really thought of it in those terms, but why was he a carpenter? Why was he the son of a carpenter? And we know really nothing about that. Bare mentions. But I think we can, have kind of a spiritual imagination that if he was a carpenter, and as some of my reading recently has been that not maybe a carpenter in terms of what we would think of in making furniture, but maybe that, but also the carpenter bringing, building things like an aqueduct and the scaffolding that would, these heavy stones. And so I guess part of my reflection is that Christ probably carried beams of wood around in his work. The Lord probably literally was carrying wood. And that image of carrying wood, it resonates with, the whole idea of Isaac carrying the wood for the sacrifice. The authors talk about him as a priestly figure carrying wood to the sacrifice. And then Isaac, is ultimately not sacrificed. But throughout his life, Christ was carrying wood that ultimately culminates in that carrying of the cross. And I guess the image that that occurred to me this morning is that in many ways, as a disciple and as a bishop in the world today, I'm called to really carry my cross along with Christ, sort of in a day-to-day way that, doesn't have the drama of Christ actually walking to Calvary, literally carrying a cross, but has that sort of day-to-day struggle of knowing, what we're burdened with and where we're headed. And I think that is a reflection that we all need to be aware of, that that cross that Christ asks us to bear is not just a moment here and there. It's a way of living. It's a way of walking with him, and to recognize that even for him, as a man in history who lived for about 33 years in Palestine, that he carried a cross throughout his days that was symbolic, and sometimes, probably a real chunk of wood that he was moving around as a carpenter.